yeah, that's basically like what I'm gonna talk a little bit about. Some is like figure how this stream will kind of go down is I'm probably gonna start out discuss a little bit about like a lot of the ins and outs of, I guess, like the handling of the game, because the ins and outs of the handling of the game and everything in that respect. So we might as well just get started, because the first half of this stream is going to mostly be discussion. So, welcome to Code Channel, I'm Code, and we're going to be playing Mighty No.9. So this should be a really interesting stream. Like I was just saying, this stream is going to be kind of like a mixture of like discussion on everything that kind of happened with Mighty No.9. I have a little bit of distance from the game because I didn't back it. So I've watched everything that's happened, but I'm also not necessarily close enough to the flame to get burned, I guess, by it. I find the whole thing very interesting, since Mighty No.9, I guess for people who aren't really familiar, is sort of one of the first really big game Kickstarters to really like pull in big money for a concept via Kickstarter. So it was a crowd-funded project, basically by Keiji Inafune, who is sort of the co-creator of Mega Man. So he wanted to basically do a new project outside of Capcom to sort of make his own Mega Man game, essentially, not tied to Capcom. Basically a spiritual successor to Mega Man. And of course, I mean, I think it's completely understandable. Hey Sage. Completely understandable that people are super interested in backing this. I know, like, just the initial idea of, you know, Keiji Inafune wanting to make a new like Mega Man game that he can, you know, he has control over, basically. Sounds like a great idea on paper. Of course, things didn't really go as planned. I mean, the Kickstarter was wildly successful, but this is, I think, going to be kind of... This is going to be a game that gets referenced a lot for pretty much all future Kickstarters, pretty much. Because the initial concepts and ideas that were kind of sold to people maybe didn't translate so much into the final product as what people were hoping it would. There's definitely, like, when you sit down and, like, look at the game, and like I've said before, I haven't played the game yet, so this is my first playthrough. And I'm gonna, like, kind of... I'm approaching this game with an open mind, because it's something that... A game can be rough looking, or have issue. It can be flawed, but it can still be, like, alright. And I'm gonna, like, kind of keep an open mind to that idea that, you know, the game might be alright. It's just that it might not be what people really expected from it as a Kickstarter. Or, well, as what was pitched initially. But yeah, I guess, like, rolling it back, though, to Kickstarter and the project. The game didn't really... Let's just say it was kind of plagued on the development end of things by numerous issues, some tied to, like, Kickstarter and, like, the delivery of information to backers, which I think companies have to be really conscious of when it comes to Kickstarters. Is if you back something, you want to know, like, all the details on what's happening with that project. And the transparency for Mighty No.9 maybe left a little bit to be desired. There was, I think, two or three delays of the game, and there's actually a really interesting post discussion Twitch feed that they had going like 3 or 4 days ago, which was pretty interesting to listen to. I think that there's like some obvious mistakes that they may have made. Like, I'm all over the place right now. Some mistakes that they may have made that are obvious maybe in hindsight, but weren't so much in the initial idea. One of which I think really probably was one of the biggest hurdles that they had was they kickstarted the game for maybe too many platforms. That's very true, Sam, for sure. But it's one of those things that true, Sage, yeah. I don't know the specifics of all the stuff with the community manager, but I've heard that there was a little bit of conflict between the community and the community managers at certain points. That's a little bit probably closer to it than what I had experience with, but I've heard things here and there. But yeah, for sure, Sage. I think when a project like this, as big as it is, really kind of paints sort of a bleak picture for other Kickstarters. There's been some very successful Kickstarters, though, for games. Like Undertale's definitely one that Jarrett mentioned. Shovel Knight was very successful. Hyper Light Drifter was very successful. Freedom Planet. All very good games, might I add. Like, extremely good games. I'm playing Hyper Light Drifter right now. This is like the first day I've taken off from Hyper Light Drifter since I started, and that game right now is my favorite game of 2016. It's extremely, extremely good. Very, very good game. But anyways, so I guess since I'm kind of all over the place anyways, the Kickstarter ended up pulling in about $4 million, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good budget right there. I think where things started to get kind of dicey was the fact that some of the extended goals for the Kickstarter were to increase the number of platforms that the game would be coming to, which I think may have been maybe the biggest issue that they ran into development-wise, because Shantae is really good too. It may be one of the biggest issues that they've run into because it how to put it, developing cross-platform across so many platforms, I think probably took its toll. It's both a process that can be very expensive and be very time-consuming, and my personal feelings on it is probably that was a big factor. And there's also like an online portion to the game, which would, like, the cost of doing online for each platform is going to eventually start building up to be like quite a bit. Now I guess like the running issue people are having with the game is the fact that it had $4 million backing it, and the turnaround maybe hasn't looked like a $4 million game. I saw a graphic here. I wish I actually had it so I could post it in the chat, but it showed a few different games. And like their the budget that they had for each of those games. The one on the list that really strikes me is Dragon's Crown, which was about $1 million to develop. And in particular, partly because Dragon's Crown, I mean, ignoring personal tastes as far as the artistic direction of the game, it's a very nice looking game. There's a lot of like art assets, and it's a very, very, I mean, the whole game looks sort of painted, essentially. You know, it's a nice looking game. You can't look at Dragon's Crown and say, oh, they didn't put in any work. But Dragon's Crown was about 1 million. So Mighty No.9 at 4 million, it's like, how did these two things kind of weigh out? Dragon's Crown also has online multiplayer, and that also is kind of comparable. So some of that, they'd probably have similar like budgets towards how the game is going to, like, how things are gonna like pan out as far as money goes, because they both have online portions. They're both I don't even know where I was going with that. they both have sort of similar focus on, like, I guess, netcode and assets, because I think there's like a race mode where you race each other, but then there's also like online co-op or something. So it's something that Mighty No.9 does have an online portion. There was definitely probably a surprising amount of money that went into that side of things. That's a big part of it too, Sage, is like a lot of people are upset that it didn't look like the concept art, because the initial concept art for Mighty No.9 was like 2D drawings, like mock screenshots, which is very common, but they were very nice. They were very nice looking, and a lot of people went in with the assumption that the game would be like 3D backgrounds with 2D sprites, or, well, yeah, sprites, HD sprites technically. But they end up going full 3D for character models, but of course it's still on like a 2D plane, so 2.5D essentially. So, like, there was expectations that weren't really met, and it's really kind of, I think, cast a shadow on the game between delays, odd handling as far as the Kickstarter goes, development issues, and just like it just all kind of, I think, kind of bubbles up to the point where it's boiled over, and a lot of people are upset. And and on top of that, now that people actually have the game has turned out to also be quite glitchy, I hear. It might be, just the kind of atmosphere. People are already upset about the game, so, they run into a glitch and they're like, fuck it, they're upset already. But we'll see how things go. I've heard that it is kind of on the glitchier side, and honestly, they're probably at this point just like, just kind of getting by with this after 3 delays and everything. Chances are, it's like I was saying, because it's across so many platforms, they probably haven't had a lot of time to optimize each platform. Some of that might come in post, but honestly, it's an issue. It's an issue when you spread your game across like 10 platforms. It's probably going to be a big issue. As far as mechanically, how it plays mechanically, I'm gonna probably talk more about that when I actually get started it. I have watched a little bit of the game here and there, and I have noticed like design issues that definitely don't seem cohesive. One of the ones that really stands out, was really obvious the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, that's really strange, was, so in Mighty No.9, when you kill enemies, they kind of become like a sort of digital version, like, of that enemy, sort of. And in that moment, you can dash through it, and you get like points or whatever, and it increases your combo. The idea is that you destroy strings of enemies and dash through them all at the same time. But here's where it doesn't seem cohesive. When an enemy's like sort of already killed, but you haven't dashed through it, you can't shoot through it. So that means that enemies that are directly behind that enemy, you can't just shoot through the enemy you just killed and then dash through the whole line of them. You have to individually take out each enemy and then dash through the line, which sounds obvious that you should be able to shoot through downed enemies. So I'm curious how that's gonna play out. It might make more sense when I'm in the game, but the brief little bit I've watched of it, that seemed strange. It seemed like a strange direction. And the other part of, like, mechanically, what this game really strikes me as is integrates, and I believe Inafune also worked on it, was Azure Striker Gunvolt, which came out probably a year and a half now, almost probably 2 years ago now. And the concept of it is extremely similar to Mighty No.9. Like, gameplay-wise, they're very similar concepts. And honestly, I'm kind of going into Mighty No.9 expecting the problems that I had with Gunvolt are probably going to be in this too. I mean, we'll see if that pans out. It's actually, I will, like, I guess for some, like, additional clarification, I know I'm all over. I just went all over the place with the topic. I should have wrote this down, but we're just, you know, chatting away, so whatever. So Integrates is the company that Inafune is working with to do Mighty No.9. Integrates has done lots of games, and they've done other Mega Man games, particularly the Mega Man Zero series and Mega Man ZX, like Jared mentioned. And also 9 and 10, of course. Integrates, I love that company. That's an extreme... They're very... Like, Mega Man Zero is probably my favorite Mega Man series, and I've played it since 1. So, you know, I'm pretty well versed in Mega Man. There's, like, 2 Mega Man games I haven't played, which was, I think, X7 and, like, Command Mission, I think it was. Those are, like, the 2 that, 2 earlier Mega Man games I haven't played. I haven't played ZX, admittedly. I played the first half of ZX. I didn't play the later half of it, or the sequel. So there's 2 other ones that I haven't played. But I've played all of Zero, pretty much all of the X series, and all of the original Mega Man series. I've heard Command Mission was really good. Yeah, X7 doesn't have a strong reputation, to say the least. I've heard Command Mission's really good, though. It's quite a rare game at this point to find. I've been trying to find myself a copy, but I haven't come across one. So, I'm pretty familiar with Mega Man games, so that's kind of why I've had my eye on Mighty No.9 for as long as I have. It's an interesting concept, and on paper, I'm like, okay, Inafune working with Integrates to make, you know, spiritual successor to Mega Man. This is the perfect scenario. So it's a shame that things have turned out the way they have, unfortunately, because you'd think that would be perfect, but things, you know, like I said, I guess it's been just enough things that some things went horribly wrong. Is, I guess, the gist of it. Honestly, I haven't played X7. I know 2 people that have. One of them hates it, and one of them was like, it's not awful. Like, well, it's not great. It's just not, you know, it's not up to par with the rest of the X series, which is, that's debatable in itself, because if you want to get into, like, Mega Man X stuff, the first few games are good. The later half is, like, not spectacular. So, you know, that's the gist of it. To me, like, Mega Man Zero, that series, it maintains its quality pretty much the whole way through. The games progressively get easier, but they're still good games. And also, like, Zero series, love Zero series, so good. Such a good series. It was such an appropriate way to reimagine, like, Mega Man, essentially. What? Oh, Zero 2 is good. I like Zero 2 a lot. The original one, I did everything in. Zero 2, I believe I did everything. I think the 3rd and 4th one, I just kind of did, like, a, like, 80-90% full, like, everything completed like 80 or 90% of it. I did beat the games, just like the extra stuff. 0.2 is so good, such a strong game. And even though the original has like issues, it's still good. It's just, its biggest issues are really with the structure of how the game is set up, and 0.2 really answers that. Like, it really fixes that. Why are you a ninja? Oh, well, that's the whole idea, is you don't want to get hit. Gotta keep your rank up. Oh my goodness. But anyway, so Mighty No.9. Back to it. What was I gonna say? There was something else. I thought of it a moment ago. But I guess like the gist of it is I'm hearing don't have super high expectations, but it's still alright. The thing is like I'm no stranger to playing games that are not spectacular, but I can find something I like in them, you know. It's like the way I'm kind of approaching it is like I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna see like, is there redeemable like content in this game, or is it just like, you know, a broken mess that's not going to, you know, there's no traction because it's just bad. Also, I want to thank Marumu for giving me keys for Mighty No.9. I really appreciate it. I gave a shout out on Twitter the other day because it's like, you know what? I'm curious enough about this game. I wouldn't mind seeing, you know, a lot of people were really sour on my timeline. I was like, you know what? A lot of people sound like they're not even going to play it. And I'm like, I'm just going to give a shout out and say, you know, if anybody has any keys that they want to toss my way, feel free, and I'll play it on stream. And Marumu hooked me up. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. Awesome. So there's 4 keys given out with the game and 3 DLCs. I have 2 of them. The 3rd key didn't work. A lot of people had issues with their keys working, so hopefully we'll probably get a new key whenever they get around to that, essentially. But just another case of like issues plaguing the game, unfortunately. Yeah, and that's basically what I'm hearing, Psalm. That's what I'm hearing too. It's one of those things that, you know, it's one thing if the game breaks a whole bunch and it's just frustrating to play, but it's another thing if it's you know, if it hits at least a sort of a medium range, I guess, of like, it might not be amazing, but it's good enough, and, you know, kind of, it's, you know, interesting enough to play. So I'm trying to think of what else. I don't think there's anything else that really needs to be said at this point. I'm probably gonna sit down, probably play it most of the evening. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I think we'll probably get started. Like I said, I've been at least distant enough from the project that I don't necessarily feel burned, so I feel like I'm going in with an open mind to the game. Going in with an open mind to the game. But there'll probably be moments while I'm playing it that I'll maybe stop and like talk about some stuff that, you know, some of my feelings towards how it's playing out. Will I be playing it all night? Well, I'll be playing till 12 at least, because that's usually when I wrap things up. I would like to keep at least my first playthrough on mic, so yeah, if we reach 12, I don't think the game's going to be that long, because most Mega Man games aren't that long. Usually, you know, first time through a Mega Man game is maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe. If that. Some of them are quite short. I know Mega Man 9 and 10 I like blew through in like, I think it was like 2 hours. It was pretty quick. 9 more, or 10 more so than 9. 9's actually really, like, It's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. 10 is pretty reasonable. It's a little bit more in line with like 4, 5, and 6, I guess. Whereas Mega Man 9 is a little bit more in line with 1, 2, and 3. Will you be playing? Right. Anyway, so I think we'll get started. So, you guys select your difficulty. Oh, wow, no questions asked. Oh, one-hit death mode. Okay. Well, we'll start with normal, because we don't want to jump into one-hit death mode. Alright.
It is the present year. Breakthroughs in robotic technology have ushered in a new era of peace and prosperity.
They told him it's the chance to go 20XX.
Violence is confined to the Battle Coliseum, where robot combatants face off in spectacular duels.
Well, that sounds cool.
Today, the Coliseum walls once again echo with the shouts and cheers of excited fans.
This person doesn't sound excited, though. Uh-oh. Things have went wrong already. Whoa. Okay. Everything is very lit. Yeah, this looks a little bit sharper than some of the footage I've seen.
System ready? Go!
Okay.
Professor! Ah, back. And functioning normally, it would appear. What on earth has happened? It's chaos everywhere.
Dr. White.
Well, we won't figure it out here. We must make for the laboratory, and quickly.
Okay.
Beck, you forge ahead and clear a secure path. I'll follow and monitor your progress. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so... Oh yeah, I can actually see, like, the frame rate. Like, it's got a little bit of... Okay, so as far as... Sorry, I'm just, like, getting a feel for things. It's... Okay, so we can grab ledges. That's kind of neat. There's just like a stitch of like, just a stitch of like movement lag. It's not much, but I can feel it just a little bit. So as far as stuff goes, we got lemons. We got lots of lemons, so that's cool. Jumping feels a little bit short, but you know, might be things that improve that.
Once again, the president has declared a countrywide state of emergency. This based on reports of haywire robots rampaging out of control in all 52 states. I'm being told we have a comment from Gregory Graham, CEO of Cherry Dynamics. Cherry Dyne, of course, being the world's leading robot manufacturer. Let's go there now, live.
Attention! Attention! Is this thing on? Oh. My fellow Americans, in this time of crisis, we at Cherry Dyne would just like to express that this isn't our fault. It's that Dr. Blackwell. He's the one behind this.
Damn that Dr. Blackwell.
We at Cherry Dyne are doing all we can to help fix the situation. It's Blackwell.
Yeah, really song.
Hello, is this thing on?
Avi?
And now let's go live to our Eye in the Sky Avi for today's Avi News Traffic Report. Thanks, Avi. As you can see, we've got a few accidents eastbound on, well, everywhere!
Mighty number 6! What does he think he's doing? Unless... could he be malfunctioning too? Uh-oh. A security bot. And it's out of control, like all the others. Beck,
He seems just impartial to the situation, honestly.
you can handle this. I know you can.
guess, alright. I'll do it.
Yeah. You gotta shoot lemons at something. There we go. Okay, so that's how you absorb enemies.
Did you just absorb the cells of a weakened robot and, my goodness, assimilate them? Of course, I designed him with that capability, but I hadn't thought it functional yet.
Dr. White, you don't sound too confident in... Like, seriously, you built back and you don't even, like, know his functions? That doesn't seem right. Okay. Oh, shit.
I needed...
I might have to adjust some settings. Ooh, shit. I have to adjust some settings, just because it's not, like, super laggy or anything, but we might not be able to do it from this menu, unfortunately. I mean, actually adjust controls, that's a nice touch. We'll approach it, like, next time we have a chance to pause, so... Oh, shit. I don't know if... Can you absorb those guys? They didn't turn blue. Oh, shit. So right here is a good example of, like, a spot where... Oh, thing. A spot where, like, you'd want to typically shoot through all the enemies and absorb them, but I can do that, right?
What's the matter?
What's the matter? What the bleeding heck do you think's the matter? Are you okay, Will?
Oh, fine.
There we go.
Fine. More or less. And yourself?
Less than fine. Much less. These robots gone
Whoa.
wild are tearing the place apart. I've sealed myself
Oh man,
in the
that
lab.
guy's really angry.
Who knows how long before they break
Oh,
through?
jeez. No hit stun.
Understood. We're already on our way. You can try to hold them off as best you can.
Destroy all enemies. Will do. Okay. Combo 5. Oh, I see. Okay, so that one, I can absorb them just as long as they have the squares around them.
That's more like it.
Okay. Whoa. Oh, jeez. There we go. Cool. Okay. Ouch. Oh,
Beck,
whoa.
with no time to waste. Calculate the fastest possible route to the lab.
That's more...
Okay, so just like we don't have to manually duck for that.
Here we
That's
go.
good.
Here we go. That's more like it. Here we go.
Okay, I think some hits. Honestly, I think if I go into the settings and like drop down the ooh.
Here we go.
Drop down the settings a little bit, I might not be having like this little tiny bit of delay. Ooh.
Here we go.
There we go. Whoa! Wow, okay, holy shit. That was like a lot of delay there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll have to drop settings down, because like... Oh, all I wanted to do was like walk down onto the platform that was
Here we go.
like right here, and that was how much delay I had. I went all the way into the spikes. Okay, yeah.
Right. The lab is just ahead.
Wow.
Sonda.
Okay.
Sonda, are you still there? Have the robots torn you to pieces?
What was that?
Yep, you can completely kill enemies without absorbing them.
How on earth did it manage to get down there?
And, like, it doesn't... Well, my computer actually is running kind of heavy, but... it's likely how it's optimized. Oh, I like this round digger. Yeah, that's what that looks like. dropping rocks on me. Oop, shit. I like the boss health bar at the bottom like that. It's kind of a nice touch.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
Mission clear.
Oh, that's cute. I like the boss health bar along the bottom. I think that's really nice. B rank! Yay! We're a mighty collector. Okay, I'm actually gonna hop off. Like, oh, hey, it's Call.
Sonda, are you alright?
Will, Beck, thank goodness.
Oh, it's Dr. Sonda.
Where are the other mighty numbers?
Well, based on empirical evidence, I believe they might be suffering from this robot affliction that's going around.
Crikey! It's like every bot in America went completely nuts all at once. Let me contact my brother at the head office in Tokyo. Maybe he can send help. I'm sorry, Soichiro. Please understand. The Japanese government won't let us intervene until we know the cause of the malfunctions. I was afraid of that. But it makes sense. After all, any robots you send to help could be affected as well, making things even worse.
Just to confirm, Mr. Sonda, if we can isolate the cause of the robot rampage, we'll send aid?
Absolutely, Professor White. Anything we can do. Did you have a plan in mind?
Yes. We'll send Beck to track down all his fellow mighty numbers. Great idea! Wait, what? His assimilation ability should filter any irregularities from his siblings' programming. If we can gather and study multiple samples, perhaps we can isolate the cause of the problem.
It's a long shot, but it's our only hope. The fate of the entire country hangs in the balance. I'll finish reactivating Cole so she can provide support. Let's get to it.
Hey, GF, what you up to?
Professor, Not to worry, Beck. This is well within your capabilities.
Okay.
New content in extra mode is here. New content in extra mode is here.
Okay.
What?
Ah, a new training mode is ready.